Hello, everyone. My name is Vera, and I'm responsible for partnerships for Actions on Google, which is our developer platform for the Google Assistant. Actions on Google is really the way that companies are able to build services to reach users on the Google Assistant. And so what I'm excited to talk to you guys about today is first, really what is the Google Assistant? I've heard about it. I know it works on some devices. Really, what is Google building? The second is where is the Assistant live? And then the third is about really Actions on Google. We launched this developer platform in December, and so I want to tell you a little bit about what we've been learning since we've been live, where we're at, and some stories of developers who have started building on top of the Assistant. So I actually want to start with a little bit of a dose of healthy skepticism. So when I first started working on the project, I had been working on Google Now, and I was saying, your smartphone isn't really smart. This device has so much information, so much content, so many services. It should be able to deliver assistance to you. And I didn't really feel like people are going to be talking to their hardware, really. Like you often see it empirically, like somebody's talking to a phone, like, okay, Google, okay, Google, okay, Google. And then it sometimes doesn't work, it fails, and you get that kind of exaggerated eye roll, like, why isn't this working? But then what I started noticing is my 21-year-old brother one morning was on his phone. He's like, okay, Google, how do you make scrambled eggs? And forget the fact that my brother is 21 and doesn't know how to make scrambled eggs. What was really telling was he had a very simple question, and he needed a very simple answer, and he didn't want to go on his phone or on his computer to be able to get it. And what we see is, in aggregate, the data shows something similar. In fact, 20% of queries on mobile are voice. And that's pretty staggering. And if you divide up the data even further based on age demographic, or if you divide up the data between early adopters and kind of late stage adopters, the statistics don't shift that significantly. And so we're seeing more and more that people have this need to be able to get these answers, to get these services quickly. But our technology hadn't really caught up yet. And so today, when you look at things like speech recognition or things like text parsing, both of those, even as an industry, are increasing above 90% accuracy. Even today, I was on my phone, and I was like, OK, Google, call Genie, and you could see it parsing quickly in real time, and it was changing G-E-N-I-E to Genie, my friend Genie, who I was trying to call. And that's pretty exciting. But it's not just natural language understanding or speech recognition. To be able to do this really well, to be able to answer a user query, there's actually a ton of technology that needs to go into being able to answer queries. So let's say that you are in Paris and standing in front of the Eiffel Tower, and you say, OK, Google, how tall is it? And then you might follow up with a query that's like, show me photos of my last trip here. Two pretty simple queries. But then if you look at what's required, the technology stack that's required on the back end to be able to answer these things, it's pretty amazing. There's, of course, the natural language. You understand what's being asked. There's the speech recognition in a really noisy environment in Paris. But then there's the entity understanding from Google's knowledge graph of you're talking about the Eiffel Tower, and you're asking for a specific factor about the Eiffel Tower, which is its height. Then there's the location and context awareness. Like, you might actually be kind of far from the Eiffel Tower, but we understand that you're in that specific location, that context, and are able to understand that query. And then forget that. There's the kind of logic that runs underneath. If you're asking about the Eiffel Tower, we understand that it's public information about the Eiffel Tower. But then if you're asking about your photos, we have to do that immediately and be able to say, this is private content. Let us actually trigger a private result. And then on top of that, there's the machine learning models, which are like, let me actually find the Eiffel Tower in a photo, which is really hard technology. And so there's all these great things that are happening right now as an industry where we can start actually responding to this user need, these user queries. And at its core, that's really what the Google Assistant is. It's really a conversation between you and Google that helps you get things done in your world. So it's that dialogue, that back and forth, not a single query, but a conversation. It's also task-oriented. It's not only help me get this info, but actually help me do things, help me book tickets, help me order a cab, help me find a reservation. And then the third is it's really personalized to you in a privacy secure way, and we actually enable users to completely control their voice history. But it learns about you. It knows your likes, your dislikes. I mentioned context. It knows all these things, so it actually provides real assistance to you. And so people ask me, like, what's the future of the Google Assistant? And that's where we're really going to focus. It's in the natural language. It's being able to do the dialogue. It's being able, from a small kid to someone who's really old, to be able to respond. The second is the task. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our developer platform, so being able to fulfill on those and bring your services to the users. And then really the third is being able to answer not just remind me what my grocery list is or what's my bike clock, but really intelligently be able to provide assistance to you in a personalized way. So there's this concept of a conversation with Google, but where does it actually really live? Like, how do I access this assistant? Last year, we launched our device, the Google Home, and it's really a speaker and priced at a point where we're seeing users start putting it in their kitchen, in their living room, inside their bedrooms. And what we're seeing in terms of growth of this product is it's moving beyond just like the early tech adopters. We're seeing that kind of curve of the curiosity going to the mainstream audience of wanting these things in their home. And then the next surface is where the assistant is live. Already today, it's on your watch on Android Wear. It's on the speaker Google Home. And then last year, it went live on the Pixel. And then we recently announced, and it's currently being rolled out to Android devices, M and N. And the way that you can get the assistant is by saying, OK, Google. That no longer triggers a search. That now triggers the Google Assistant. And you can also access the assistant on mobile devices by long pressing on Home. So the assistant is at your fingertips wherever you are. In the future, we also are going to have the assistant go live in cars, on TVs. And then we also announced an embedded assistant SDK. It's still very, very much in experimental phase. But the idea would be eventually you could talk to the assistant on other devices as well. So cool, that sounds great. Seems like a pretty compelling user product. We're betting big on it. But how do we connect you as developers to all the users on the Google Assistant? So we're very, very early. We launched Actions on Google in December of last year. And we've been really, really focused on building the tools to be able to provide really, really quality user experiences so that you can build apps and services on top of the assistant. What are the values that we kind of think about as we're building this platform? Well, the first is we want to be able to connect to services without the barrier of an install. Even today, when you talk to an action on Google, all you have to do, there's no download, there's no setup inside the Google Home or the Assistant app. All you have to say is, OK, Google, talk to CNN. And that's it. OK, Google, talk to Headspace. And that's it. And we introduce the user to dialogue with the service. But at the same time, the user has to know that you exist in order for the user to be able to invoke your action. A big, big focus for us is very easy discovery. We're taking our roots in search and making all of these actions discoverable. Even today, I mentioned Headspace. You can say, OK, Google, talk to Headspace. We'll introduce Headspace. Headspace says, what kind of meditation do you want to do today, morning, afternoon, or evening? But today, if you say, I want to meditate, let's say you've never heard of Headspace before, we will actually say, do you want to meditate with Headspace? And if the user says yes, we do the handoff, and it says the same thing. Would you like a morning, afternoon, or evening meditation? We want to do this really carefully, of course, and we're starting small with some of these types of use cases. We're testing our models. We're building the ranking engine behind it. But this is a really, really big focus for us moving forward on the platform. The third thing is smart dialogue. So it's not really easy to be able to take your large business on your website or app and be able to convert it to a conversation with a user. That's a really hard problem. Even Google is working on it in our first-party product, which is the Assistant. And so a focus moving forward is how do we help developers build smart dialogues? One example is we bought a company called API.ai, which does natural language understanding. And so if you have a single query that you'd like to be able to actually convert into all the, in many cases, hundreds or even thousands of ways a user might ask the same thing, we want to provide you with the tools to be able to do that. And we also have partners channel partners who are doing the same. But a big focus for us is how do we have a direct relationship with you and really help you build that dialogue. And then the fourth is where we want to provide value is really making you available to users across all of the surfaces that I mentioned. It's, you don't just build on the speaker, you don't just build on the phone, you don't just build on the TV. This is one platform, one integration path, one Google Assistant. You launch once, and then we want to be able to get you in front of the users everywhere. The way that we're thinking about the platform is in kind of two primary ways to be able to build into it. The first is direct actions. And where we want to help is doing the heavy lifting for you in being able to connect the user to your service. So you don't have to actually build the dialogue back and forth. But for certain verticals, like home automation, you don't really want to talk to a Philips Hue light bulb, maybe. Or you don't want to talk to Spotify when you're listening to music. You just want Google to turn on the lights. You want Google to play music. You want Google to tell you the news. And so we have a set of APIs that we're building that are vertical specific that allow you to have a really kind of easy integration path into the Assistant, and those are direct actions. And in fact, yesterday, we announced that we have more compatible devices with the Google Assistant with direct action. So you're able to turn on your lights, dim your lights, unlock your house, turn up the thermostat, et cetera. And these are some of the partners that we launched with yesterday, and we'll continue to expand these partners as well as more direct actions to provide easier tools where Google does the heavy lifting. And then the next kind of category of build inside the platform is called conversation actions. Really what that is we hand over the dialogue to you to completely manage the conversation with the user. So you can say, hey, Google, talk to a personal chef. There's actually a ding, and we say, here's personal chef, and then the user has the back and forth with your service. This is really good for highly customized user experiences that are not in kind of like the music media space, but really this is the equivalent of a website or an app that you control the dialogue. So I want to talk about some of the partners that we've been working with the platform. So we have, I mentioned Headspace, the kind of really great user experience there is the discovery piece. The second is Akinator. So this is one of our highest engaged actions on the platform, and it's a game. And what Akinator did, and what we really encourage, is don't try to build your website or your app into the experience as it is, but really try to build first for conversation. And Akinator did this. They have a really fun game, which is like basically 20 questions, where they say, you can say, OK, Google, play Akinator, and they say, think of a person or a place. And you think of it, and then Akinator starts guessing what you've thought of. And so they're like, I recently played it, and I thought of George Washington. And it's like, OK, is it a boy or a girl? And I'm like, it's a boy. And it's like, is it, a couple questions down, I was like, is it president? I was like, yes. And they're like, does he want to build a wall? I was like, no. And eventually it got George Washington. And then the third one, a really fun one that recently launched is Jaden Smith. So Jaden Smith is Will Smith's son, and he's been known to be like kind of ethereal and like say like really like strange quotes. And so like all the action does is like say Jaden Smith quotes. And so you ask him for one, and the one that I got today was, have you noticed that trees never smile? Have you noticed that trees never frown? Trees are always happy. I think that's really special. And I just like burst into laughter. It's just like you use the Google Home more and more as an entertainment device, and people are seeing that and building really, really interesting experiences on top of it. And then WebMD was one of our launch partners in December. Very, very different than Jaden Smith quotes. Really great action where you might ask, like, why do I have a headache? And it explains some of the reasons for why you have that condition. And these types of applications, we're actually really excited about the platform. There's a lot we can do in social impact and health to be able to provide assistance that's voice only. And we're seeing a lot of really great developers build early for this, which we're really, really excited about. Cool. So why invest early in this type of a platform? It seems like it's still small, even though we're growing the number of supported devices very, very quickly. The first reason is first mover discovery. So today there's one meditation action. And so if we want to be able to respond to a query for meditation, we're going to point the user to Headspace. We're also building in tools inside the Assistant app where if you want to play games, if you want to be able to get food delivery, if you want to be able to use services, the ones that are there today are the ones that users are going to discover. So there's a huge advantage to getting in early. The second is kind of start riding the wave. You are there, and as Google starts distributing across surfaces, you're going to be able to start reaching those users. So invest early in kind of high growth platforms. And then the third, and I really love this one, is how you build a quality experience is hard in the space. And what we want to be able to do is work really, really closely with you directly. And we have VUI designers, voice UI designers. This is a new career field that's growing really fast. And it's a really great team that can work directly with you on figuring out a really rich experience. And our focus is very much quality, because that allows us to turn up the knob on discovery. And this is the time to start really learning how to build your company in this really, really new paradigm. Which kind of gets me to the next part of what I want to talk to you guys about. There's tons of different kind of best cases of how to build VUI design, but I wanted to give you three really, really quick ones that we've learned since we've launched. The first is leverage your brand, create a persona. The second is think outside the box. And then the third is context matters. So leverage your brand, create a persona. What's exciting today and what we're learning as we're talking to partners is how do you actually take your company, your service, and build a character, a tone, a person, a brand around it. Brands, I think in the future are no longer going to be just expressed by how good your customer service is, how good your logo is, how good your design is. It's now actually going to be like how you talk to people. And we're really excited about some partners who are really starting to play in this. We recently launched with Progressive, and what they've done is they've actually recorded voice actors And this voice actor is now kind of like the front of Progressive, and it's how they're kind of describing their experience. And so you can talk to Progressive on the assistant and get auto insurance tips, right? And home insurance tips, and something that is seemingly bland, but you actually have a lot of fun talking to them because like somebody is really, really emotive and expressive in this action. And as you're building early, we highly recommend doing that, making it entertaining, fun, like people want to be able to talk to you and starting to really build what your brand is now as almost like a human. The second vui design concept that we really encourage is think outside the box. So what we often see people doing is like, okay, I'm really excited about this. I want to build an agent. What I'm going to do is like build a script and do a map, and somebody's going to say one or two things, and then we're going to respond to it. Not only is that really robotic, it's not really the promise of the platform or really how people talk. And so what we often do is we have people come into the office and we do a ton of kind of user testing, and we encourage the same to be able to, when people come to your action, what kind of thing are they expecting, and make sure you're able to respond to it multi-directionally versus relying on what happened in the past conversation to be able to answer the next question. So one of the design principles that we're seeing people get a lot of success with. And then the third is context matters. We at Google believe that being able to provide personalized assistance is the promise and the vision of the platform, and we want people building actions kind of taking that into account. Food Network is another one of our launch partners, and something that they did really well was their action actually takes advantage of being in the home and watching Food Network. So yes, you can get recipes from Food Network, and my brother can learn how to make scrambled eggs. But you can also do things like be watching an episode of somebody cooking, and you can say, OK, Google, ask Food Network what the recipe is. And it'll know that you are asking for a recipe that you're watching right now and be able to actually trigger that result. That's pretty cool, pretty exciting, kind of a leap forward. And we really believe that understanding the user's context is kind of a really, really compelling vui design principle. Here are some questions that you might ask yourself as you're building. What is the environment? Are they in a certain situation? Why are they asking this? What happened before? What might you anticipate they might be asking next? And then what is their state of mind? Again, kind of very, very persona-driven action building. We fundamentally are building this as an open platform. We're building this in a very Google-driven way. We believe it takes a village to be able to build really great agent design. And so we've partnered with API.ai, of course, in our own home. But then we're working with a ton of different partners to be able to move this industry forward. We want to be able to learn. We have some vui designers in-house who are pushing the envelope, but we know that as an industry, people are really excited, and so we really want to partner closely with everyone. In fact, often when partners are coming to us and they're like, how do we do this? We might point them to partners like Pullstring, Spoken Layer, or Voice Labs. So what are the next steps? We have of course, our developer site, but what you'll find in there is a ton of different vui design resource. We have video after video of how to start thinking about these things. And then we, of course, have our tool, API.ai, to be able to start actually testing with some of the commands that a user might trigger on the assistant. We also have a pretty active developer community where people are starting to really ask questions like, how did you guys handle this case in a dialogue? What are the best kind of queries that we should be building first for that users are asking? And that's a really, really active space we encourage you guys to join. And then we have a mailing list, of course, to get updates as we build more and more features, more and more capabilities on top of the platform. But really, we want to have a direct interaction with you. So I'm totally available. I have a team that works really closely. We have our VUI design team. We have a technical team. Like, we've really structured Google to be able to really support hands-on very early. And so let us know if you're building something. We want to understand how you're thinking about it. We want to provide feedback on things that we've learned in the past. We want to really stay close and help you be successful very early. And that's really it. Thank you so much.